Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax, what is going on in the world of Wi-Fi? All this stuff seems really confusing. Don't worry, because that's why I'm here to let you know. Today I sit down with Cisco's Technical Solutions Architect Stephen Cooper to talk about everything Wi-Fi 6. What is it, how can we leverage it today, and how can we set ourselves up for success in this new wireless transition? So, grind those coffee beans, pour yourself a cuppa, because this is Dude with a Cup of Wi-Fi. Let's go!
Welcome to Dude with a Cup of Wi-Fi. I'm your host, James Galati, and today we're talking everything Wi-Fi 6. I am joined on the call today to help clear up what this is, what it means to the industry, by esteemed technical architect, Stephen Cooper. Stephen, thank you so much for joining the show today. Do you
Great.
just want to give a little bit of an introduction, I guess, around your role?
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, technical solutions architect. I cover both Australia and New Zealand in terms of territory, and we both work in the enterprise networks team. So, covering anything Wi-Fi and wireless to do with access points, controllers, solutions that tie into that. So, we've got Cisco DNA Center, DNA Spaces, all the other cool stuff that ties into Wi-Fi as a solution. So, my role is to support the likes of yourselves, product sales specialists, SEs, account managers, on the customer and partner side of things, as well as engaging with the business unit to help, spread the enablement and messaging from, what's happening with our new products, the latest and greatest in Wi-Fi, and, basically getting everyone across the same page with what's happening with Wi-Fi. And as you said, Wi-Fi 6 is the hot topic of the day.
Which leads me to my next question. I've heard a lot of buzzwords, Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax. I'm a little bit confused by this. I read in the paper that it was going to cure cancer, something like that. What if we were at a bar, Stephen? If we were at a bar and I didn't know anything about technology, what would you say to me about Wi-Fi 6? What is it all about?
So if we're at a bar, I'd say, well, you know how you have new generations in tech, like iPhone 3, 4, 5, we've got iPhone X. Most people are familiar with those generational consumer branding changes and what happens with that. So that's what Wi-Fi 6 is. It's a generational brand for the new generation of Wi-Fi. So it's to help people identify, yes, there is a change. What is different from all the previous, nomenclatures for Wi-Fi standards? The general user doesn't know about Wi-Fi standards. They don't know what IEEE 802.11ac Wave 2 is. We as techies know that, but how do we get the consumers more aware of changes and generations of Wi-Fi? So we've got Wi-Fi 6.
Mm-hmm. So why the name change all of a sudden? We've gone from those traditional 802.11 blah blah to now Wi-Fi 6. Seems really simple in my mind.
Yeah, it's around that consumer adoption and awareness of there's something that's changed, there's something that's new. Where the naming has actually come from is the Wi-Fi Alliance. So the Wi-Fi Alliance are all about interoperability and certification of particular technologies and features working between your smartphones and access points, for example. Doesn't matter whether it's enterprise access points or home Wi-Fi routers and things like that. They're there to make sure that things work. So when they say, yes, you're working on Wi-Fi 6, it is guaranteed to be Wi-Fi 6. So the other angle of it is, I mentioned the generational branding and the awareness. So trying to get people to recognize that it is a new technology and that stuff has changed. That's really the drive for it. And I think it's also a bit of we've got this whole Wi-Fi 6, 5G thing. 6 is a bigger number than 5. So
yeah,
that's part of it too.
And I guess with previous generations of Wi-Fi, there's been just, speeds and feeds sort of conversation, right? It's faster, it's a little bit better. Is that the same case with Wi-Fi 6, or is something fundamentally different about it, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great point coming from the previous generation. So yes, there's a big change with Wi-Fi 6. It's more of a revolution than an evolution, but not only in terms of what the previous standards have done. They brought in, yes, higher throughput, bigger bandwidth, things just happening faster across the air. There's been other little improvements in the back end that the IEEE as a standards body have gone, this is cool, we've proven this, this could actually have some real benefits. But then what happens when devices like iPhones and access points get certified? A lot of those chipset vendors or handset manufacturers have actually adopted all of these cool features. So with previous generations, 802.11n or Wi-Fi 4, 802.11ac, Wave 2 is Wi-Fi 5. There's been some cool stuff. There's been a lot of potential there outside of just increasing throughput, but not a lot of adoption on the client side. So the Wi-Fi Alliance is also trying to drive mandatory or forced adoption of new features on these new devices that should be certified Wi-Fi 6. So that's a whole other part of it, just saying Wi-Fi 6 is going to be great, but not only if you only enable 1, 2, or 3 features. You want to get the most benefit from Wi-Fi 6 by enabling as many features as you can, because there's a lot more cooperation and scheduling that happens now between access points and wireless devices. So if you don't have both sides of that equation playing nicely with each other, you lose a whole bunch of the benefits that you could potentially get. So it's driving that client adoption and driving the actual use of what's been put forward in the standard.
And I guess, capitalizing on some of those technology advancements yourself, like you mentioned, what are other key, benefits that we could see with Wi-Fi 6, not just now, but as we see that greater adoption? What do you believe will be some of the greater benefits of Wi-Fi 6?
So really the biggest driving factor behind improvements with Wi-Fi 6 is around efficiency in high-density environments. So when you're talking about high density, it's talking about a large number of devices on one access point. You might be talking about an open plan office which has gone Wi-Fi only. You might be talking about a large public venue, a stadium, a hall, concert venue, that sort of stuff, or even just public spaces where there's a lot of people around, so using like public Wi-Fi. So the key point there is a lot of devices all using Wi-Fi at the same time. So Wi-Fi 6 brings a lot of benefits in terms of improving that over-the-air efficiency. There's a lot of boundaries that we have to play in with Wi-Fi. It's a shared medium. It's not only us as Wi-Fi that's operating in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. We've got other things that are congesting the spectrum. So there's a lot of smarts in Wi-Fi 6 which allows us to get greater efficiency, better reuse of the spectrum, better capacity, which in turn then gives us better throughput and better end-to-end speeds and reduced latency and things like that. So not only that being the goal of Wi-Fi 6, the greater adoption you see of Wi-Fi 6, the more clients that are Wi-Fi 6 capable, the more benefits you'll see. So obviously if you just have one Wi-Fi 6 client on your access point and the rest are all Wi-Fi 4 or Wi-Fi 5, you're not going to see all the benefits of Wi-Fi 6 for that one client. The benefits will come when you start to see 30 to 40% or more of those devices being Wi-Fi 6 capable.
And that just happens obviously when there's a greater adoption of those clients, right?
Exactly right.
The key thing is you may have all of these clients, but they're not going to experience the true benefit of Wi-Fi 6 if you don't have a network at the core fundamentally ready for Wi-Fi 6 and that next leap of evolution. And I guess if you're an IT organization, you don't really want to be on the back foot. You really want to try to be ahead of the curve because you know that this is going to happen. There's a proven track record of it with Wi-Fi. I guess that's the key thing. But every new iteration, there's these new clients, and we know that there's going to be a ramp up, right, of adoption. So what kind of implications are we talking then with Wi-Fi 6 on the network? Obviously to experience the true benefit of Wi-Fi 6, you got to make sure that you have a really solid foundation at the access layer. Not just thinking about 1 gig PoE or PoE plus, but this is where you're going to maybe, M gig, 2.5, 5, 10. You're driving that speed, which again, we've seen previously in technology, but then that all has a glue-on effect from the access. You've seen that need from 1, 10 gig, 10, 25, 40, 100 gigs, so forth, right? Am I missing anything there, or is that pretty much that?
you've hit on a lot of the key points. Previously people have not necessarily been convinced, but not necessarily seen the need for mgig in their environments, because while there has been theoretical maximum data rates that you could achieve on previous generations of Wi-Fi, in the real world, you haven't really seen it. Even in large public venues such as stadiums and things like that, only really just scratching the surface of really what those Ethernet switches can do with mgig. You're talking anything over 2.5 gigabits per second. So obviously the new access points have support for mgig in them. 2.5 gig is a minimum. You can do 5 gig. There might be future capacities down the track. As you mentioned, you need to make sure that your switching infrastructure can handle that. So not only the switch ports that your access points connect into, the backplane switching capabilities, upstream to your distributional core switches, and then beyond that, a lot of customers are in a state of flux across multiple technologies at the moment. It's not just wireless. They might be looking to refresh their switching. They might be looking to move from traditional WAN to SD-WAN. That all has to be considered with a view of the future, not just what they're currently seeing today, because everything's going to change, especially once you start looking 12 to 24 months from now, as we've mentioned, getting more of these Wi-Fi 6 clients on the air and actually starting to see some benefits of that additional capacity. You don't want to be on the back foot from that.
No, and you hit on some great points, right? So if you think about, we've always had this sort of siloed approach with technology. So, it's a wireless upgrade, but now it's you need to think about the flow-on effect of that. Okay, it's a access conversation. Well, okay, what does that mean for the rest of my network? What does that mean for SD-WAN? What does that mean if I'm multi-cloud, right? So if I'm moving on-prem, off-prem, if I'm going to have a mixture of hybrid models, what does that all mean? And then thinking of, well, if I've got this project now, what does that mean for me in 12 months' time? And then starting to build a solid foundation, especially when you get to, how do you manage and operate this type of an environment, right? You don't want to be thinking about a siloed approach of a box-by-box sort of analogy. This is where you really need to think about the multi-domain piece of where do I have more of a software-driven approach to a controller that allows me to see all, know all, so I can respond a lot faster to an ever-changing need out there in the market.
Yeah, exactly right.
Cool. So, Steve, I guess that's everything about Wi-Fi 6. I wanted to thank you so much for being able to clear that all up. I know I learned a lot more today, and hopefully all our other viewers did as well. I just wanted to take the time to say thank you very much for being on Dude with a Cup of Wi-Fi.
No worries.
And
thanks for having me.
we will see you all next time.
Great.
See you later.
Thank you very much to Stephen Cooper for joining us on this episode of Dude with a Cup of Wi-Fi, talking everything 802.11ac, Wi-Fi 6, and how we can start leveraging this new technology. If you want to keep up with Stephen, make sure you follow the links down in the description below on his LinkedIn and Twitter, and make sure you like the video and subscribe and share it with your friends. I'm James Gallardi. This is Dude with a Cup of Wi-Fi. Bye bye.